Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. All right, let's go live on Instagram. Okay, there we go. Alrighty, so today I'm going to be going over the home buying process, the basics, yet the essentials of the home buying process. Specifically in Texas, there are some differences state to state. However, the majority of the information can be applied nationwide. So we're going to go ahead and begin here. So this is the first webinar that I'm going to be having in 2024. I would like to have a webinar every last Wednesday of the month to go over a topic. I believe it's very important for people to be informed about real estate, even if they're not an investor trying to fix and flips or buy property. It is very important for people to know about real estate because it affects everyone, from the person who is homeless underneath the bridge to the person with many properties, investor who's buying mansions, to Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. Everyone needs to know about real estate, at least the basics. So if you are buying a property for the first time in 2024 or 2025, this is the webinar for you. So here I'm going to be going over a little bit about me, and then dive right into the home buying process, and then any questions and answers that y'all may have. If there's anybody who is participating in the seminar, at the very end, I will let you know how you can win a gift card, because this is a webinar that's happening during lunchtime, and I'd like to send you a gift card so that you can get some lunch on me. I know sometimes it can be difficult to leave your job to go attend a seminar, so having them virtually will allow you to replay the information, to join from anywhere, and I'll send you a gift card for a participant that joins these webinars. So stay until the end for the gift card. So a little bit about me. My name is Kimberly Rendon. I'm an agent at Home Buying, Home Selling Realty. And so a little tip at the bottom that I have is the difference between real estate agents and realtors. You'll hear those two terms all the time. And real estate agents are licensed agents. They're sales agents legally allowed to sell homes in the state that they're licensed in. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors, and we have ethics that we're supposed to follow. We have standards and codes. And so having the designation of a realtor is better than just a real estate agent. So when you begin your home buying process, it's important to know that your agent is, one, licensed, and two, that they're a member of NAR. It's very important that they uphold these ethics, that other people uphold these ethics and not just themselves. So a little bit about my career. In 2016, I was in college. I was an ABA technician and tutor for athletes at UTSA. In 2017, I graduated from the University of Texas at San Antonio with my bachelor's in English language arts and minor in psychology. That school year, I started at Brackenridge High School, where I taught English 1, and then eventually I taught English 2. I left in 2022 after having a baby and took my real estate classes with Champion School of Real Estate and became a realtor that October. In 2023, I was very blessed to help 30 people with their real estate needs. I represented landlords, I represented tenants, I represented sellers, I represented buyers, and I represented commercial landlords and represented commercial tenants as well. So I have thankfully in 1 year gotten a little feel for all the aspects of real estate, and I started to learn about real estate investing, like creative financing as well. A little bit about home buying, home selling. Home buying, home selling realty is a very unique brokerage. We have home buying, home selling realty, which is the brokerage with its agents, the broker, and we do traditional real estate off the MLS, off market. But also, home buying, home selling has home buying, home selling solutions, which is different. It's the untraditional part of real estate. It's the creative financing. There we have people who do wholesaling, who do fix and flips, who do subject twos, who do wholesaling, and that's a different, much bigger world in the side of investing. But I wanted to mention that before we get started because there are so many situations that people can find themselves in and so many ways to buy a home, and home buying, home selling is the perfect place to receive that help if you are in a certain situation, because we have the investment side and buying real estate untraditionally, creatively, and traditionally. We can help people meet their needs and help them in whatever situation they are in. So the home buying process. There are 8 essential steps. I know it says 7 there. That's an error, but there are 8 essential steps that I will be going over with today. The first step is assessing your buying position. So before you even begin the home buying process, I always recommend my clients assess their position. What that means is assess your urgency to move, your debt, your income, your work history, your credit score. How much do you have saved? What is the market like right now? Is it even a good time to buy? And then the location that you're going to be buying in has its own unique market characteristics. Now, there are many ways to buy a home. The most typical one is third party financing, which is a loan like conventional FHA, USDA, VA. But there's also more creative like seller financing slash owner financing, where the owner of the house, the seller, becomes the bank and they lend you the money versus a traditional bank. So it's easier to qualify through owner financing. People who don't have a credit history or don't have citizenship, owner financing slash seller financing is the better way to buy. There's also cash and rent to own, which I don't recommend and we won't be going over here. But if anybody is interested, just leave a comment. So I want to go over a little bit about loans. Full disclosure, I'm not a loan officer. I highly recommend that you speak to a loan officer or lender before applying, in order to see what your situation is. What is your financial situation, your debt, your income, your savings? A loan officer, lender, or mortgage broker will be able to help you better than a realtor can. But generally, the 2 different types of loans are conventional and government backed. Conventional loans are for people who have strong credit scores and who can afford to make a sizable down payment. It can be 5, 10, up to 20%, or if you can pay more in a down payment, a conventional loan is the way to go if you have the money and if you have the credit. If you don't have that much saved, or your credit is not so well, or you don't have a lot of income, then a government backed loan is the better way to go. A government backed loan um, is can be split up into 3. The first one is FHA. Um, the minimum requirements for a FHA are a 580 credit score and a 3.5% down payment. There are first-time buyer programs with FHA and different programs as well. So FHA, you would only have to pay 3.5% down payment. With USDA, is the U.S. Department of Agriculture. They lend money to people with moderate to low income, and they do not have a credit score requirement or down payment requirement. They will pay 100% of the loan. So FHA will only pay the 96.5, and USDA will pay 100%. So you don't have to put anything down. However, the property that you're buying has to be in a rural area and it has to be USDA eligible. So if you're flexible on where you want to live and you don't have that much saved, a USDA loan is a great loan to buy a house with, because you don't have to put anything down. And then there are VA loans for our veterans. The U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs gives VA loans to eligible members of the military and their surviving spouses. And this can be used many times as well. So the second step is getting pre-approval. So once you've determined your situation, your financial situation, how much you can afford, what your debt is, working on your credit, getting pre-approval is the next step. Knowing how exactly how much you need to borrow and setting that budget will help you, one, determine what kind of houses to be looking at, and two, will help you get an idea of what your mortgage payment will be. So pre-approval is usually like 99.9% required before you even go look at houses. There are agents who won't show you houses unless you have a pre-approval letter. And again, this is to see how much you can afford and if there's anything you need to work on before you buy. Check out the different rates that you have, that you get, the different loans, and so speaking with a loan officer, mortgage broker, or a lender will help you determine the details and the numbers. And a realtor cannot help with that. We can help direct you to someone, but to give you the nitty gritty numbers, that's the loan officer. So once you get your pre-approval letter, you can also compare with different lenders. Typically, the pre-approval letters last 30 to 45 days. They have an expiration of 30 to 45 days. And if you apply at different lenders, the credit bureaus see that as you home shopping, as long as it's within 30 days and it doesn't affect your credit that much. Again, if you have questions about how much does it affect your credit, a lender, loan officer, or mortgage broker would be the best person to answer that. And I always recommend local mortgage brokers, loan officers, or lenders because they work with a variety of banks. If you go to Wells Fargo, they are the only bank that will lend you the money. But if you go with a loan officer or a mortgage broker, then they can find different banks and different programs for you. So I always recommend that. But again, you're free to go with whoever you would like. Again, if you are not once you are pre-approved, do not change your credit or income during the home buying process because you can and will lose pre-approval if you do so. If you go buy a car, if you open a credit card, if you lose your job, if you switch jobs, do not make major changes to your credit or income during the home buying process because it will affect your pre-approval, and later on in the transaction you will not be approved and the entire transaction can fall through. You can lose your earnest money and you'll lose your time as well. So after you've gotten pre-approved, the next thing is to find a real estate agent. Usually I recommend finding a real estate agent first that will direct you to a lender or a mortgage broker depending on your needs, but some people get pre-approved first and then they find an agent. Here are some recommendations when you're looking for an agent, what you should be looking for, because not all agents are created equal. So do your research. I usually, when I'm looking for an agent in another city or in another state to send a client to, I usually research their social media. And I'm looking for an agent who has a history on their social media. They're actively doing deals. This isn't something that they do on the side, although no hate on people who do real estate on the side, but somebody who's active, currently active, because that'll show that they know the current market. I usually do not look for the agent that is the busiest or that's going to all of these events. And I mean, of course, that's always good for someone to be learning and for someone to be working deals. However, do they have the time for you? And so once I find a few agents on social media that look like they're actively working and they're not extremely busy, I give them a call. If they don't answer and they don't text me maybe within 24 hours, I won't choose that agent because I want somebody who's going to be communicating. If they don't answer, at least, send a text message, hey, I'll give you a call later, or an email. And so if they respond quickly, that's always a good sign. And it's good to ask them these questions. How busy are you? What resources do you provide? What is your schedule like? Because you want somebody who is available, somebody who will provide you with resources throughout the transaction and who will communicate with you, who's not too busy for you. And so once you have an agent that you're working with, you're going to be seeing two important documents. The first one is the information about brokerage services, also known as the IABS. This document is what the role of an agent is and the brokerage information for that agent. The brokerage, the broker, the supervisor, and then the agent, their license numbers and their contact information. It's disclosing all of the information. It is very important that your agent gives you this document at your first substantial communication about real estate, either digitally or in person. They are required legally by the Texas Real Estate Commission to present this document. If they don't, that is a major red flag. The next document that you might see is the buyer representation agreement. This is a contract between you and the agent stating your obligations as a buyer and their obligations as your agent. It is a binding contract saying that this is your agent and you are their client. This is how much they will get paid. If the seller isn't paying, then you're going to be paying. It has all those details. This is a binding document. However, it is an optional document. The IABS is required. Every agent must present it when you first talk about real estate. The buyer representation agreement is not required. So be careful with what you sign. If you sign a buyer representation agreement with an agent, you are contractually bound to that agent and cannot be using another agent. And so it's very important that you know what you sign. And you can always terminate this if you're not happy with your agent's services. Just make sure that you're aware of what you're signing. These are the first two documents that you'll be seeing. After you've met with your agent, you guys go house hunting. Your agent will ask you what your preferences are: sales price, location, house size, number of bedrooms, bathrooms, any interior features like gas stove, fireplace, exterior features like yard size, what year it was built, schools and neighborhoods. All of that information you give to your realtor, and your realtor will go on something called the MLS. The MLS is the multiple listing service, where it's the market, what's on the market, and they do a search with all of your criteria, and then they email you the properties. In that email, you have a portal where you can like, where you can dislike, you can comment, and you can select like, I want to go see this one, and then y'all can schedule tours through there. The MLS is very important, very vital here. You can also look on Zillow and things like that, but the MLS has up-to-date information. It's everything that the seller's agent put for that property. So it is very important. And once you go see a few houses, your criteria will become more detailed. So if you feel like you don't really know what you're looking for, that's all right. Start generally, go see a few houses, and then you'll be like, okay, I don't really like this. So I want houses that have this. I don't want houses that have living and dining combinations. I want them to be separate. Those little details come as you start looking at property. So if you don't already know what you're looking for, that'll become more clear after you go house hunting. Once you've been house hunting and there's a house that you want to submit an offer on, your agent will be filling out the 1-4 residential contract. And what that is where you enter the sales price that you as a buyer are offering, earnest money, option fee, title company, any repairs, seller concessions, home warranty, who's paying title and survey, and then commissions as well. So every one of those things that I have listed are negotiable. On your offer, you put the terms that you would like. And your realtor will recommend and suggest numbers for you based on the market and based on the condition of the home. However, you have the ultimate say. If you want to offer a certain number and you say, realtor, I want you to submit my offer at this number, and they say, I don't think it'll be accepted, they legally have to submit your offer even though they disagree with it. But they have to let you know that they disagree with it and suggest the best terms for you. Again, this is an offer. It's not a contract. You're saying, hey, seller, you have your house for 260. I am offering you 258 because of the condition. You know, it's not worth 260 based on other houses in the neighborhood that have been sold or whatever reason. You put who's going to pay for what, how much you're going to be asking in closing costs, and you set your terms. The seller's agent will receive that offer, present it, and hopefully in the next day or couple days, they'll let you know whether your offer was accepted, rejected, or if there's a counter offer. So if there's a counter offer, the seller's agent will tell your agent, hey, the sellers would like these terms instead. You and your agent review the terms. Okay, they didn't accept 258, they want 259, and they're not going to do the repairs. And if that's okay, if once the seller and the buyer come to an agreement, the offer gets becomes executed. Or it's signed by the buyer and the seller, and it becomes an executed contract. So that's the difference between an offer and a contract. Just because you submit something doesn't mean that it's under contract already. You have to have an executed contract to move forward. And so that leads us to our next step, which is your due diligence. This is the most important step, because once you have an executed contract, you have 3 business days to turn in your earnest money, at least in Texas. And so you have to turn that into the title company or to the attorney that you're working with. If you do not turn in your earnest money and option fee by the 3rd business day, then the sellers have the right to terminate the contract. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but it's important. There's a saying, it's time is of the essence. It is very important that you meet your deadlines. So what is an option period? Once you submit your earnest money, which is usually 1% of the sales price, you also have an option fee. And that option fee is an amount, it's a day for how many days you would like to decide whether you back out of the contract or not. You can do inspections here. And you have X number of days for your option period to back out. So for example, if you have 5 days, typically that's $10 a day, that's $50 option period. So 1% earnest money plus your option period, 5 days, $50, you turn that into the title company. So if you have 5 days, you have 5 days to schedule the inspection. If you need to send out a roofer, a plumber, or anyone in a more specific trade to go inspect the property, you do that within the 5 days. If by the last day you have not terminated the contract or negotiated anything, and you decide to back out after that 5th day or after that last day by 5 p.m., then you cannot keep your earnest money. But if you decide to back out before the 5th day, before 5 p.m. or 7 days, whatever number of days your option period is, by 5 p.m. on that last day, you can keep your earnest money. Anything after, if you decide to back out, you lose your earnest money. So you've done your inspection, everything's good. Maybe you had to negotiate some repairs. All of that's done. The option period is over with. Everything's, the inspection's been done. It's all good. You guys have come to an agreement once again, and you have it signed. The next step is the underwriting process. Personally, this is the most, for lack of a better word, annoying and stressful for you as a buyer, because you're going to be having the lender send me this document and title, send me this document, and I need this signature. And what was that $2,000 that you withdrew on this day? And send me a letter. And it's so many documents and so many signatures. And that's not fun. I just want to let you know, it's not fun. It's very annoying, but it is very important, this step. This is the step where the lender will review your file once more and make sure that you get finally approved. So if you did buy a car, or if you did open credit cards, or you lost your job, This is the stage where if you made major changes that affected your pre-approval and now you are no longer pre-approved, everything falls through. The lender will not give you the loan, so you cannot buy the house. And at this point, your option period has already expired. If you're not going to be lent the loan from the bank, you can't buy the house. So you try to back out, but you are backing out after the option period, and so you lose your earnest money. And that's a good 1% of the sales price. So please do not mess with your credit or your income during this underwriting stage, because you can lose the house, you can lose your earnest money, and you will lose your time. And maybe your agent will be frustrated with you and say, why did you do that when I told you not to? You wasted my time as well, and they might not work with you. There are some agents who still will. Thankfully, they're very merciful and understanding, but others will not. So this is a very important process. Make sure you sign everything. You ask your questions if you don't know what that document that requires your signature is. Your agent will be behind everything. So if this document is needed, your agent will make sure that you get it signed. We'll make sure that everything in the file is ready to be completed for closing. So that is what your agent is doing at this time, making sure that all your documents are ready, and you just sign and get the documents. And so it's a very annoying stage, but a very crucial and very important stage. The last one is getting ready for closing. So once the lender gives you the final approval, you will get something called the clear to close, or CTC. Once you get CTC, you complete a final walkthrough of the property to make sure that it is still in the same condition as you got under contract. That is, it's still under the same condition as it was when you got under contract, and that there hasn't any repairs that were negotiated were completed. You can send your inspector again. You can go with your agent. It's important to walk through the property. Do not miss this. Also, you'll get something called the loan disclosure. And this is where the disbursement of all fees and monies is disclosed. What you as the buyer are going to be paying and where it's going. Origination fees, loan fees, commission, survey, all of the detail in the monies will be on the loan disclosure. So it's very important that you look over it and that your realtor looks over it, because some unfortunately do not. It's important that you and your realtor look over this and make sure that all the money is correct and going, so that when you go to the bank to get your wire or to get your cashier's check, that you are actually paying what you have to pay, not a penny more, not a penny less. You'll also get the wire information, also for the exact amount. If you're going to be using a cashier's check, you will go to the title company with your agent to go sign all closing documents, and then you get the keys to your home. But I want to talk about this a little bit. Usually in the contract, you get possession of the property upon closing and funding. So you don't get your keys right after the last signature of the closing documents. You get your keys once you've signed all the documents, the title companies receive the documents, and the money has gone through and it's been funded. So if you have a closing late in the day and the money hits the bank after hours, it probably won't be funded that day, and you will most likely not get your keys that day. Or if there's a holiday in the middle, a holiday the next day, that could be an issue as well. So I always advise closing as early as possible so that you can receive your keys as early as possible. Or if for whatever reason you don't need your keys because you're not going to be moving yet, then that can be determined by your agent. So that's why it's important to have a very good agent that will be aware of what your urgency for moving is, what your needs are, and be able to make sure every piece of this process will fit your needs, and make sure that you're not stranded without a home for the weekend while your file is being funded. So remember, you do not get your keys right after signing. You get your keys usually upon closing and funding of the loan. And again, that's negotiated in the contract. Maybe the seller will let you stay, move in earlier or after. All of that can be negotiated, but usually it's upon closing and funding. So, to summarize everything, the home buying process is first assessing your buying position. What are your needs and where are you? Secondly, getting pre approved for a loan if you're using a loan. Third, finding the right agent, going over your house requirements and criteria. Number four, going house hunting, touring homes. After you found the right home, is step number five, submitting an offer and getting under contract. Right after you get under contract, you enter the due diligence period where you do the inspection, which is a buyer cost. And you negotiate any repairs that need to be done based on that inspection. If you need to back out of the contract because there's too many problems, you don't want to deal with it, make sure you back out before the option period. And if you back out after, remember that you will not keep your earnest money after 5 p.m. on the last day of your option period. After your due diligence is done and any negotiations, there is the underwriting. Make sure that every document that they ask you to sign, please fill it out to the best of your ability, and your agent will be on top of you. If you have a good agent, your agent will be on top of you to make sure that you fill it out correctly and in a timely manner so that you do not delay closing. Again, make sure that you do not open credit cards, you don't lose your job, get a new job, that you don't change your income and your credit situation. And lastly is closing, doing the final walkthrough, looking over your loan disclosure, and then going to signing. And once your file has been closed and funded, then you can receive your keys. So let me know if you have any questions about a specific step or a particular situation that you may be in. You can always reach out to me at my phone number, 830-765-2310. Sometimes you'll see my 210-660-4810 number. You can reach me at either, but the 830 is my personal cell phone. You can also email me at kimberlyrendonrealtor@gmail.com. Or you can find me on social media at Kimberly Rendon Realtor. You can DM me, you can call me, you can text me, and I'd be happy to help you. Again, there is no commitment just by reaching out and asking me any questions. There is no commitment. The only commitment is a buyer representation agreement. And I personally do not like to give my clients the buyer representation agreement because I want you to be free to be able to go with another agent. Once I fill out the offer for you and all the terms, then I put my name there that I'm representing you. So I want you to be free. Please be careful of what you're signing. And if you have any questions, please let me know. I'd be happy to help.